Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And this video, guys, is going to be an FAQ number 5, I think. I think it's number 5. So, we'll be answering some questions. There's a long-awaited Savage Press versus Wampa. We'll kind of have that debate. Again, I will try to be as unbiased as I can, even though Wampa is king, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the game right now. And then finally, I want to kind of put out there what the best way to spend conquest currency is. I've done some stuff on that before, but want to revisit that again. So let's dive into the video. So we have our king versus Savage, right? Which one is better? And it's an interesting question. I only have Chrysanthemum here just because, that way I could separate them like this. You have your little verses here. So they're fantastic. They both are really good. There's some different qualities about them that I think need to be addressed and that you have to understand where I'm coming from. So let's start with Savage Press first. So he's got some really good uses. I mean, you can throw him with Sith Eternal. You can use him as the leader on your Starkiller team. You can use him with Darth Treya. You could even use him under Maul. And you think, like, how does that work, right? Why would you use him under Maul? Well, Maul's leadership, right? They're going to gain evasion. They, can't be critically hit while stealth. There's all this stuff, right? It basically just Maul's going to be under stealth a lot. You have to target Savage Press. So Maul is basically just getting free hits whenever he wants. It's a really, they're all very, very good. What I love about Savage Press is that you can use him on offense or defense or even as a solo character because this is his unique ability and he does give out some of this unique to all other Sith allies. So by using him with other Sith, you're gaining that bonus. Now this bonus is negated in like a Starkiller team because he'll be the only Sith, but in a full team of Sith, they're all going to be gaining additional benefits like health steal and offense, and then there's some protection recovery. So there's a lot of really good things in his Omicron that are really good. So, again, the offensive, defensive, and solo viability for Savage Press, keep those things in mind. It's just extremely important. With Wampa, the thing is, Wampa is a requirement for Jedi Knight Luke, who gets you Jedi Master Luke and Jabba the Hutt. So when you take a step back, remember, guys, that Wampa, you have to farm him. If you want to get Jabba, you want to get Jedi Master Luke, you want Jedi Knight Luke, you have to get Wampa. Savage Press is a complete side farm. There's nothing in the game that requires you to get Savage Press. So it's one of those situations, I think, that you've got to kind of, almost remove yourself and say, what am I really asking for here? What is the best, which one's going to benefit my account more? If you've got a lot of Sith, Savage is a really good side project. Wampa's Omicron is literally, oh, I got Jedi Knight Luke, I guess I should throw my Omicron on Wampa, because otherwise, there's not a lot of ways to use Wampa without his Omicron. There isn't. I mean, I used to do it way back when I'd face lower level guys who would throw like Phoenix on defense, but without his Omicron, I wouldn't be able to use him in GAC. So when we come up here and actually compare the two of them, right, when you compare their two Omicrons, with Savage Press, again, that offensive, defensive, and even solo viability, to me, is like +1 on Savage, right? That makes him a lot better. The downfall of Savage Press's Omicron, in my personal opinion, comparative to Wampa's, is that he has maximum stacking benefit for his health steal, offense, right? Like, it just, eventually, it stops stacking. So, while he's gaining a lot of stats, he has a ceiling, right? There's a ceiling that he hits where he will not hit any harder. And so if you're like me where I've only got him relic 3, I'd love to get him higher, but if you don't have enough relics on him, there are teams or certain situations that you'll run into where he just won't deal enough damage to get through that team. Comparatively, guys, Wampa, with his Furious Foe ability, has offense stacking until the end of the encounter. So his offense, as long as that encounter is going, right, so for 5 minutes, he is infinitely ramping his offense, which is an unbelievable, it ramps him up. It makes him, in my opinion, as a solo, an offensive option. Because he ramps infinitely, he gets that 1 over Savage Press. It just makes him that much better to, use. The downfall with Wampa, of course, is that all his Omicron is basically completely reliant on no other active allies at the start of battle, right? Like you don't want active allies at the start of battle. And again, his stuff gets doubled if there's only one active enemy, which almost never happens. I never use him against something where there's one active enemy left. So, they They each have their counters, right? They very much do. There are teams that you can make Wampa proof and Savage proof. I mean, it is that's just the way these characters exist. If you had to ask me which one of these Omicrons is better, I think from a performance perspective, right, just pure performance based, I think Savage Press takes the edge because he's got that offensive, defensive, and solo viability. That from a pure return on investment in that regard, like all of like in a vacuum, I think Savage Press's Omicron is better because he can be used in a team where Wampa cannot, and that means offense, defense. But we don't live in a vacuum. Savage Press being that side project to me puts Wampa up another level that I think Savage Press just doesn't quite reach. That you have to invest in Wampa if you want these things. There is nothing that you do not have to invest in Savage for anything. And so in my personal opinion, guys, that's what takes Wampa to that next level. You're taking a character that you have to get and turning him into a solo machine for GAC. And that's like, and I mean they're close. Like they are very close. Again, that slight edge because again, all of my advice comes from this perspective of doing less with more, and that you have to do more with Savage. You don't have to do anything other than slap an Omicron on Wampa once you get your Jedi Knight Luke. So again, that's that part. That's probably a little bit longer than you guys wanted, but I think it's important. All right, so the next thing is momentum, right? You got to keep the momentum. We've got the three characters who can earn momentum. So today, guys, I posted a video yesterday at the time of recording, and it didn't get a ton of hits. I wasn't shocked because it was information nobody wants to hear, that you need to gear your Tuskens. Because the feat here was complete the battle with 3 Tuskens. However, I didn't even pay attention, but you also need to gain momentum 150 times. And the only 3 characters that can gain momentum in this game are Tusken Chieftain, Tusken Warrior, and Boba Fett Sign of Django. So we kind of entered this weird state, and I think what I want to just point out to you guys, Capital Games had tipped their hand with Inquisitors, that they made them needed for everything. They new character, right? You got Reva, there's Grand Inquisitors, all these things. So you've got Tuskens here. So the question is, what else is coming down the road? That when we first got Inquisitors, we're like, oh, there's no Grand Inquisitor. Where's Grand Inquisitor? Where's Grand Inquisitor? Oh, and then Reva came in. All of a sudden, we got 2 new characters for that faction. So could we potentially see more Tuskens? I think so. Could we maybe see a version of Boba Fett that truly has Tusken synergy? Because the only way he gets synergy with Tuskens is in, I think, the Nomadic People Omicron here in 3v3 Grand Arena. So would we get another character that Boba Fett with a Tusken tag? Potentially. We don't know, right? But keep that door open. We've seen it happen time and time again. And this is the other part I want to bring up here of like kind of lead into my last point about how to spend conquest currency, but also just in terms of conquest. With Boba Fett Sign of Django with this momentum, because momentum is going to be a feat now for galactic challenges and galactic conquest going forward, because it just makes so much sense, because that's where it's locked with these characters. This is not the first time that Capital Games has created a character and then gone back and ensured that they are like completely necessary. They did it with the Razor Crest, where when Razor Crest was released, none of us knew what to do with it, and now it's a requirement for the second best fleet in the game, right? I mean, that's not an exaggeration. Like that's how good the Executor is. The Razor Crest was so important for that. Let's go to the TIE Interceptor. Where's that at down here? It's one of my weakest ships. There it is, TIE Interceptor. When this was released, we're like, oh, this is a cool ship. Like it's kind of helping beat some things, but we didn't really know what the future of it was. And then all of a sudden, we get the Scythe. Where's it at? You get the Scythe, which is another Empire ship, and then you get TIE Defender, and all of a sudden, you see that the reason that we got the TIE Interceptor was to kind of create these 2 Empire fleets, and that it's completely necessary to have this ship to be able to pull off those fleets. Again, so with like Maul, Commander Tano, with we got Maul, Commander Tano, Ben Solo, even Darth Malgus. It was very easy to see how these characters were going to impact your roster. I think with Dad Bod Boba, right, Boba Fett Sign of Django, I think we're finally coming around to the fact that the way he's going to impact your roster is he's going to give you that opportunity to get momentum without having Tuskens, but also be on the lookout to see if he's needed for anything else, because Capital Games has done that multiple times. So finally, let's talk about conquest currency. Conquest currency is something that I think a lot of players struggle with because it's not the easiest stuff to always understand. So in the way that I'm currently spending mine, I'm buying Admiral Trench shards. I have to buy Admiral Trench shards right now. That's the path that I follow because in 6 conquests, if I get box 6, I can get Admiral Trench shards. That's the plan, that's the goal. But there's the scythe, right? You can buy Ben Solo, Darth Malgus, there's relic materials. So there's a whole bunch of things you can buy in here. The recommendation I normally give players with your conquest currency, if you're doing like easy mode, normal mode conquest, buying the characters is not worth your time. Just I don't think it's worth your time to do that because the time it will take you to get these characters to 7 star, right? You can get 25 shards per conquest for a character that's no longer in the reward box, which means like for right now, the Scythe and Admiral Trench, I can only get 20 of their shards right now. So I can get 25 of everything else. So even through like 10 conquests, you're still not at a 7 star character if you started farming Darth Malgus. Like it is absurd. So in my opinion, the best stuff to buy, you've got your relic materials in here, but this gear 13 gear that comes in here for the right side, your right side gear 13 gear, if you're in like easy normal mode, this is where you want to be spending your conquest currency because I think this stuff will propel you through the game faster. Relic materials are also a really good shout in here, but I think the gear is probably some of the more important stuff. And I don't even know if they allow you to buy relics in easy and normal mode conquest. It's been so long, but this is the other really good place that you can buy these things. Like I think it's just so important. The last thing I'll say about conquest currency in sectors 4, and I'm not there yet, sectors 4 and 5, you can actually buy impulse detectors. So if we come down here to where's the character that we need Relic 8 on? Where's my Han Solo? So I need to get Relic 8 for Han Solo. I can get impulse detectors in Conquest, right? It'll show you somewhere in here that, maybe not, but you can get these in hard mode Conquest. You can get up to 10 of them. I think every Conquest, if you get all of the like little key cards, you get all the rewards. I think you can get about 15 of them per go if you don't spend your currency on any kind of character shards. So my advice for you, if you're doing hard mode conquest and you're not able to get all the shards of a character, or that like you don't have a way to use Admiral Trench, which would be crazy, but just if you're like, I don't want Admiral Trench for some reason, I don't care, I don't like Admiral Trench, go buy those impulse detectors and it's going to save you crystals and other gear that you would have had to use to get impulse detectors. So that's the video, guys. Hopefully those 3 things kind of help you, paints the picture of, again, the Savage Press and Wampa. I know people have been asking for that. The Dad Bod Boba stuff, it's kind of just like a warning shot that pay attention to what's coming. Understand how Capital Games has gone back and ensured that the players who've kept up with this game and followed through with all those things are benefiting. And if you're a newer player and you're like, oh, I'm never going to get Tuskens, guys, you don't need a ton of gear to be able to complete some of these things. And being able to do a few of these feats can help you greatly because these galactic challenges are not going away anytime soon. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below. As always, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.